The galaxy knew the Empire very well. Its fleets were everywhere. Long lines of massive warships moved from system to system, taking control without warning. Most worlds surrendered before a single shot was fired. Those who resisted did not last long. Humans were one of the smallest powers in the galaxy. They had few worlds, few ships, no great victories. That was why no one expected what happened next. At the edge of a quiet star system, an Imperial fleet arrived. Hundreds of warships formed a perfect battle line. Their target was simple: a human research sector. No defenses, no fleet, no threat. "This will be quick," the Imperial Admiral said calmly. Then the sensors changed. A single signal appeared. "One ship?" An officer asked, confused. The Admiral laughed. "Humans send one ship against an Empire fleet?" On the main screen, the human ship came into view. It was small compared to the Imperial giants. No heavy armor, no visible weapons. Its surface was smooth and clean, almost unfinished. "A civilian craft?" someone asked. "No," the sensor officer replied slowly. "It's military, but strange." The human ship stopped in open space, directly facing the Empire. No reinforcements followed. Just one ship. Inside the human vessel, Captain Elias Rook stood quietly on the bridge. He was calm, his hands resting behind his back. The crew around him looked tense but focused. "This ship was never meant to fight," one officer said softly. Elias nodded. "I know. The ship they commanded was a prototype, built for testing ideas, not for war. It had never faced real combat. Many in human command had argued against sending it, but there was no other choice." The Imperial Admiral opened a channel. "Human vessel," the alien voice said, cold and confident. "You are ordered to power down and prepare for capture." Elias stepped forward. "This is a human research ship," he replied evenly. "You have no right to be here." The Imperial bridge filled with laughter. "A research ship?" the Admiral mocked. "Then this will be an experiment." The channel closed. Imperial weapons powered up across the fleet. Space glowed with charging energy. On the human bridge, warning lights appeared. "Captain," an officer said, "they are locking weapons." Elias looked at the stars ahead. "Do not fire," he said. The crew froze. "Sir?" "We observe," Elias repeated. The first Imperial volley launched. Dozens of beams and missiles raced toward the human ship. The galaxy watched. At the last second, space around the prototype ship twisted. Not exploded, not blocked. Twisted. The attacks missed, sliding past as if reality itself had moved. On the Imperial bridge, silence fell. "What just happened?" the Admiral demanded. Sensors showed nothing destroyed. Nothing damaged. The human ship was untouched. "That's impossible," an officer whispered. "Prototype ship moved. Not fast. Precise. It shifted position slightly. And suddenly, one Imperial destroyer went dark. No explosion. No debris. Just silence. Its weapons shut down. Then another ship lost power, and another. Panic spread through the Imperial fleet. "They aren't firing," an officer shouted. "They're disabling us." The Admiral stared at the screen, fear rising in his eyes. "What kind of ship is that?" Back on the human bridge, Elias finally spoke. "Now," he said quietly, "they understand the first lesson. The prototype ship was not built to win battles. It was built to end them, and the Empire had just challenged it." Silence spread across the Imperial fleet. Several warships were still drifting, alive but powerless. No fire, no explosions, no warning. For the Empire, this was worse than destruction. "This is a trick," the Imperial Admiral said, though his voice lacked confidence. Scan that ship again. Sensors focused on the lone human vessel. No power spikes, an officer reported. No weapon discharge, sir. The laws of physics are not matching our data. The Admiral's hands clenched. Fire again. The Imperial fleet obeyed. This time the attack was heavier. Energy beams crossed space like burning lines. Missiles locked on from every direction. On the human bridge, alerts flashed red. Captain, an officer said, multiple impact paths detected. Elias Rook remained calm. Hold course, he ordered. Do not engage weapons. The crew exchanged nervous looks, but no one argued. The prototype ship adjusted itself slightly. Space bent once more. The attacks curved away, missing by meters. Some beams folded back on themselves and vanished into nothing. Imperial officers stared in shock. It's warping space locally, one whispered. But that takes impossible energy. Back on the human ship, a young engineer spoke softly. The field is stable, sir. But it's learning. Elias nodded. Good. The prototype was not just blocking attacks. It was studying them. The Empire changed tactics. Fighter wings launched in waves, swarming the human ship from all sides. Small craft moved faster, harder to track. Targets closing fast. A human officer warned. Elias looked at the tactical display. Activate phase test. A soft pulse spread from the prototype. Ship. The fighters froze. Not destroyed. Frozen. Their systems shut down at the same time. Drifting helplessly in space. On the Imperial bridge, panic erupted. Our fighters are dead in space. Communications are failing. We're losing formation. The Admiral slammed his fist down. This is no research ship. He opened a wide-channel broadcast. All vessels, pull back and regroup. But the order came too late. The prototype ship moved again, not aggressively, deliberately. One Imperial cruiser lost shields. Another lost engines. A command ship went blind, its sensors useless. Still no explosions, still no return fire. They are not killing us, an officer said in fear. They are taking control. On the human bridge, tension remained high. Captain, an officer asked carefully, permission to fire? Elias shook his head. Not yet. He stared at the Imperial fleet breaking apart. This is only the first exchange, he said. They need to understand that force will not help them. The prototype ship pulsed. Again. A signal spread across the system, clear and controlled. All Imperial weapon systems shut down. Every ship. At once. The Imperial Admiral felt cold fear for the first time in his career. They've turned us off, he whispered. Back on the human ship. The crew finally breathed. The engineer looked at the data in disbelief. The prototype. It predicted every move, every response. Elias allowed himself a small smile. It was designed to learn, he said, not to destroy. Outside, the once proud Imperial fleet drifted. Powerless and confused, the galaxy was watching, and it was beginning to understand something terrifying. This was not a battle. It was a demonstration. And the humans were not finished yet. The Imperial fleet drifted in. Silence. Hundreds of warships floated without power. Their weapons dark, their engines dead. The Empire had never experienced something like this before. On the Imperial flagship, the Admiral stared at the tactical screen. This is not defeat, he said slowly. This is humiliation. Back on the human prototype ship, the bridge was quiet. No one celebrated. Every crew member watched the data flowing across their screens. The prototype was still working. Captain, the chief engineer said carefully, the system is going deeper than expected. Elias Rook turned toward her. Explain. It's not just reacting anymore, she said. It's predicting outcomes minutes ahead. It's rewriting its own limits. Elias looked at the glowing core display. That was always the risk, he said, deep inside the ship. Hidden systems unlocked for the first time. Prototype had a name, but it was never meant to be spoken. Aloud, it was not just a ship, it was a theory. The Empire tried again. A narrow transmission cut through the silence. The Imperial Admiral appeared on screen, his face controlled but tense. "Human captain," he said. "And this now? You do not understand what you are using." Elias met his gaze. "You're wrong," Elias replied. "We understand it very well." The Admiral leaned forward. "That ship violates every rule of war. No fleet should have that power." Elias answered calmly. "That is why we built only one." The channel closed. On the human bridge? Alarms changed tone. "Captain," an officer said, "the prototype is requesting deeper access." Elias felt the weight of that moment. "How deep?" He asked. "Command level," the officer replied. "Full unlock." The room went still. Everyone knew what that meant. The prototype was designed with limits, barriers, human-made walls to keep it from becoming something unstoppable. Why now? Elias asked quietly. The engineer swallowed. "Because the Empire is changing tactics. They are not attacking the ship anymore." Elias looked at the sensors. Imperial data bursts were moving through subspace. Messages spreading outward. They're calling for help, he realized, and warning others. Elias made his choice. "Authorize partial unlock," he said. "Level 1 only." The prototype responded instantly. The ship's internal space seemed to stretch. Systems connected in new ways. Data flowed faster than ever before. Across the Imperial fleet, something strange happened. Command channels failed. Admirals lost control of their ships. Orders arrived already outdated. "They can't coordinate," a human officer said in awe. "The prototype is inside their command logic." The truth became clear. The prototype's real purpose was not firepower. It was understanding. It studied how fleets thought, how empires made decisions, how fear shaped commands. Then it used that knowledge. On the Imperial flagship, chaos grew. "Our orders are being anticipated. They move before we decide. This is impossible." The Admiral stood frozen. "They didn't build a warship," he whispered. "They built a mirror." Back on the human bridge, the prototype sent a direct message to Elias. Not words. Concepts. Intent. It showed him futures. Paths the battle could take. In most of them, the Empire escalated. In some, entire systems burned. Elias felt a chill. "This ship could end them," he said quietly. "Yes," the engineer replied. "But that's not why it exists." Elias straightened. "Prepare a system-wide broadcast," he ordered. The crew moved quickly. The prototype dimmed its system slightly. As if waiting, Elias looked at the stars beyond the viewport. "The next move," he said, "will decide what kind of species we are." The broadcast signal went live, and the galaxy leaned closer. The Imperial fleet was in chaos. Warships that once ruled star systems floated powerless. Engines died. Weapons shut down. Communication lines jammed. Every admiral felt fear for the first time. They had underestimated humans. Back on the human prototype ship, Captain Elias Rook watched quietly. His crew worked calmly, adjusting systems, sending precise pulses into the enemy fleet. "This is it," Elias said softly. "The Empire has to see who controls the field now." The prototype ship glowed with controlled power. Its systems reached beyond anything humans had ever tested, touching subspace currents and Imperial networks. One by one, enemy ships began to lose cohesion. Formation collapsed. Battleships collided with one another in confusion. Fighters spun out of control. "This isn't destruction," an officer whispered. "It's rewriting their logic." Elias nodded. "Correct. The Empire is learning what it means to face humans." Imperial commanders shouted over broken channels. All ships returned fire, but their weapons did not respond. Commands lagged. Calculations failed. The prototype anticipated every maneuver, not by brute force, but by understanding the enemy's mind, predicting every choice. A cruiser tried to escape. Its engines overloaded, shutting down mid-jump. Another tried to fire its main guns, only to have the targeting system fail. Panic spread faster than any human or alien fleet had ever seen. On the human bridge, Elias smiled faintly. They always thought humans were weak, fragile, easy to control. They were wrong, the engineer replied. And now they see it. Across the galaxy, broadcasts from the prototype ship reached all nearby systems. Streams of data showed Imperial ships losing control, their fleets in disarray, their pride shattered. Worlds that had once feared humans now whispered in awe. Back in the Imperial flagship, the Admiral finally realized the truth. "This is no ordinary human ship," he gasped. "It is a weapon and a teacher." Another Admiral shouted in panic. "We can't fight it. We can't coordinate. It's reading us." The prototype moved again. Not aggressively, precisely. One by one, Imperial warship shields lowered. Weapons powered down. Command systems went silent. The Empire's fleet surrendered without a single explosion. Captain Elias leaned on the console. No lives were lost. No planets destroyed. Just control taken. The prototype systems pulsed in response. A quiet, almost satisfied hum filled the ship. "We taught them," the ship whispered inside Elias's mind. Without killing. The Empire's commanders sent one last desperate message: surrender to humanity or face annihilation. Elias considered it. Then he responded calmly, "We do not seek conquest. We only defend. And we only fight when forced." "You have chosen wisely." The galaxy watched in stunned silence. Humanity had returned not as a fleet of conquerors, but as a species that could outthink, outmaneuver, and dominate without genocide. The prototype ship drifted at the center of the human fleet, a silent guardian. Once a fragile experiment, now a symbol of human ingenuity, patience, and restraint. Elias gazed at the stars, knowing the Empire would never forget this lesson, not in fear. Not in hatred, but in respect. The galaxy had learned something new that day: underestimate humans. And you will lose not because they are strongest, but because they are cleverest, and the prototype ship, the one human vessel that was never meant to fight, had rewritten history. The Imperial fleet had surrendered. Not a single human ship fired a shot. Not a single planet burned. Yet the Empire was broken. Its fleet scattered, its commanders humiliated, its pride shattered. On the prototype ship, Captain Elias Rook stood quietly on the bridge. The crew worked calmly, monitoring the remaining Imperial vessels. None of them dared move aggressively. The prototype pulsed softly, almost like a heartbeat. Its sensors were alive, reading the galaxy, recording the events, remembering every motion, every command, every reaction. "This is it," Elias whispered. "The lesson has been delivered." The officer beside him asked, "Sir, why only one ship? Why not a fleet like this?" Elias smiled faintly. "Because we don't want war. Humanity built only one for this reason." The engineer raised an eyebrow. "You mean a warning?" "Yes," Elias said. "We wanted them to understand without destroying everything. Just one prototype was enough. Across the galaxy, broadcasts from the prototype reached millions of worlds. The data showed the Empire's surrender, their systems failing, their fleets powerless, but also their lives untouched, their planets unharmed. For the first time, the galaxy saw humans not as monsters or victims. They were survivors. They were clever. They were patient. And they were just Imperial leaders sent messages of compliance, of apology, of awe. They did not ask for forgiveness. They knew it was earned by their humility. Elias looked out the viewport at the stars. Somewhere out there, humans on distant worlds were listening, waiting, watching, silent but ready. The prototype ship, once an experimental vessel, drifted at the center of the human fleet. Its systems quieted, its pulse steady. It no longer needed to fight. It had fulfilled its purpose. The galaxy understood a new truth. Humans did not seek war. But if threatened, they could outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast anyone. The Imperial Admiral, humbled and broken, spoke to his fleet. We underestimated them. We thought humans were weak, fragile, insignificant. We were wrong. The message spread fast. Alien worlds whispered, debated, and reconsidered. Respect for humanity grew across the stars. Back on the human ship, Elias turned to his crew. "Remember this day," he said. "We did not destroy. We did not conquer. We proved that intelligence, patience, and strategy are our strongest weapons." The prototype's AI pulsed gently. Inside its memory cores were all the records, all the lessons, all the simulations. It was a witness to history, a silent guardian, and a reminder to the galaxy. Underestimate humans at your own risk. "System stable," the engineer said. "We can return home, sir." Elias nodded. "Yes, let's go home. And let the galaxy remember one truth. Humanity built only one. Because one was enough." The prototype ship's lights dimmed as it moved forward into open space. Behind it, the broken Empire fleet retreated dot ahead. The stars stretched endlessly. A galaxy that had feared humans now knew their power not in destruction, but in wisdom. The legend of the human prototype ship would live forever, not as a weapon of war, but as a symbol of strength, restraint, and the extraordinary mind of humanity. The galaxy had learned its lesson, and humanity had quietly reminded everyone why it should never be underestimated.